Can't tell by now, this week's episode is Good Morning Vietnam.
Is it?
It is. It's going to be fucking amazing.
I am JP.
And I'm Ryan.
And we're your CineNerds.
Sometimes.
I don't know if we're going to be today. Or maybe we are. I don't know.
This one's a little deep. This one's a little more real.
This one, I'm just going to dive into my initial reactions. And this is one I have only ever seen once before.
Okay.
And I was pretty young when I watched this film, and I hated it.
When you're young,
when I was young, and I watched this way too young, where this film was just beyond anything that I would have watched, and hated it, and just never revisited it, and till this podcast. And yeah, it's a fun movie. I mean, the best thing about this movie is obviously Robin Williams,
without a doubt.
Yeah.
If it were any other actor doing that role, this movie would not have delivered. Just wouldn't have.
No. Yeah, we'll get into a little bit more of my opinions of it, but yeah, I mean, Robin Williams is fantastic in this movie. You can't take that away from him. I mean, Robin Williams was a fantastic he's a fantastic actor. I mean, he's done some really great films that I love. Like, I'm a pretty massive fan of Insomnia. And I love 1 Hour Photo. I love his Popeye. There's a lot of and I think a lot of the films that I love are films that most people don't really talk about with him. I think a lot of people always go to Mrs. Doubtfire and films like that.
I don't have a bad film for him. I just don't. I think he's an amazing actor. He's my favorite actor of all time.
I love Flubber.
So,
I like Flubber.
I do too. Flubber's fun. But there's a different side to him as well, like Death to Smoochie.
Well, yeah, and that's why I was saying
like,
Insomnia.
1 Hour Photo, too.
Yeah,
like,
1 Hour Photo.
Those are good.
1 Hour Photo, Insomnia. Insomnia is, if you've never seen that one, it's literally Al Pacino and Robin Williams. That's the kind of movie it is. And have you ever seen that one?
Long time ago.
Is such a good movie. And that, for me, that movie is, if you're like a fan of like Silence of the Lambs, then you're going to fucking love Insomnia. But yeah, this is one that was not a fan of, and just was not ever on my radar to rewatch, even though I knew Robin Williams is in it, and became a fan of Robin Williams after I hated this film, But the catalog of films, I mean, hell, one of the films I didn't even mention, fucking Good Will Hunting. I mean,
oh yeah,
so many great films this guy has done.
He's just a brilliant actor, period.
And he was best friends with my Superman, Christopher Reeve. This is so much I loved about this man, But yeah.
Didn't they pass away like a year apart?
They've actually said that they felt like one of the reasons that Robin Williams killed himself was after Chris died. That I'm
pretty sure it was a year apart.
All of it became too much for him, and I think between him battling his depression and anxiety and things that he was dealing with, and then the death of his best friend Christopher Reeve, everybody, a lot of people in the industry and people that knew Robin and knew Chris said that after Christopher Reeve died, that they felt like that was the one thing that put Robin over the edge, So it's kind of a sad story, because those guys grew up together, grew up in films together, remained best friends. After Christopher Reeve's accident, Robin was the one there with Chris and helping him be active
outside
again.
of his family, but yeah,
outside of his family. But Robin was always there, and that's something you gotta love and respect even more. Knowing that, I love Robin Williams even more for what he did for Christopher Reeve.
I want to be clear. This episode is about Good Morning Vietnam, but before we get into that, like, it's very important to talk about Rob Williams, and you see it everywhere online. Everyone tries to use the images of him smiling, and that's just a perfect indication of everyone can mask on the outside, but you never know what kind of battles people are going on the inside. And to that point, that's why I just say, don't be a piece of shit. Be nice to people. Always treat people well, because you never know. You could be what turns around there that day. That could be their time. And I know that's dark, but we'll get into the movie. But Robin Williams is such a brilliant light that we were robbed of because of depression, and that breaks my heart. So that said, let's talk about his comedic presence and what he brought to this movie. So this takes place during Vietnam. Obviously, he's an Air Force man who is known for his voice on the radio for military bases. He gets hired to bring in a little bit of life to where there isn't much in Vietnam, and the major who brings him in has a lot of faith in him, to the point where he stands by him through and through. Numerous instances of his two higher ups trying to discourage him, to fire him, to get rid of him. But my God, if there was a script, it didn't fucking exist when he walked into this set. He literally, his improvised elements and what he brings, there is no doubt in my soul that, if you heard otherwise, or if I don't know if he's ever said anything, but I feel like the only person who can do what Robin Williams is doing, who was also a little off his rocker, Jim Carrey. Like, I see so many comparisons to the movies they put in, the improvising, the like, I feel like Robin Williams's Popeye is equivalent to the Grinch with Jim Carrey. It's these little elements and these characters they build.
Yeah, I could agree with that. His Popeye is, if you've never seen the live action Popeye with Robin Williams and Shelley Duvall,
dude, her olive oil is excellent too.
Yeah, it's so good, and he embodied that character no different than, like you said, Jim Carrey did the Grinch, or Keaton did Batman, or it's just.
I feel like with Robin Williams, you've got five core characters. And then he takes those five, and you've got these deviations that all splinter off and spiderweb out into different characters themselves too. But you can hear the core, usually where it starts and where it goes, and he'll continue those characters. And in each role he does, and you see a little bit of these come forward. But like this one, the first hour is just him fucking with his higher ups, gaining the love of all of his peers. And he gets, from the second he gets on the radio and he says that "Good Morning Vietnam" catchphrase, you almost feel like people's ears lit up a little bit. And this was filmed in 87, so obviously years after Vietnam. They did a great job with the set. They did a great job with everything. Robin Williams won an Academy Award for this because he did such an amazing job. And in the movie, I like how when he starts doing the impressions, there's like almost like a call center or like complaint area. People are calling in. They're like, was that actually Ethel Merman, or was that actually so and so? And they're all like, no, that was not them, I can assure you. But it was just pretty impressive all around the board.
I wrote my notes because watching this time, I couldn't remember a thing about it. I couldn't remember who all was in this film outside of Robin Williams. And yeah, that's where I was going. The first thing, my first note on my notepad here on my phone is Saul Guerrero is in this film. Forrest Whitaker.
Up till today, so mind you, we obviously film and batch film, but up to today, for the last 6 episodes of Andor, you caught up?
Should be.
He told me at one point he wasn't feeling the new season Andor, but to me, one of the definitive moments is Saul Guerrero's character and the way Forrest is building him up to where we go.
Yeah, well, his Saul Guerrero has been pivotal for me, and even since Rebels and everything, when you see him in Rebels, and he shows up in it was Rogue One. Yeah, Rogue One. So I was trying to remember. I was like, what other live action was he in outside of the animated?
So before I go back to Good Morning Vietnam, Saul Guerrero's character, though, in this specific episode 6 in Andor, he references his sister. He references the jungles that he came from, where he was being oppressed, where his people were being killed. the way he goes in the character based off of a cartoon story that was built for his origin was just excellent. Like, he looked like he was off his rocker legitimately, and you felt it. You felt what he was going through. So Forrest Whitaker has the ability to do that. I don't know if anyone listening, if you've seen Ghost Dog, talk about it in the chat, but Ghost Dog is another one that unbelievable. So I'm a fan of Forrest Whitaker.
I've always been a fan of Forrest Whitaker too. So I mean, yeah. That's why I wrote that down. So I wrote Saw Gerrera because I'd actually was just watched like Andor, so I knew it was Forrest Whitaker, but in my mind at this point he's my Saw Gerrera. So that's why I wrote that. But and I like I said I didn't remember him being in this because I only saw it one time, and I was a kid when I watched this. So seeing Forrest in this, I was pretty excited off the jump. With one of the first people you see is Forrest Whitaker.
There's another character in this who is the direct report for Robin Williams' character. His character is Adrian Cronauer, I think it is, or they nickname him AC for the radio purposes. But his direct report is played by an actor named Bruno Kirby. This dude wants to be Joe Pesci so fucking bad, it's sick. Every single voice inflection, if I close my eyes, it's Joe Pesci. Like, it was bad. And then there's another direct above that guy who is just he's just got a hard on to like be done with Robin Williams in his role, and everything he says, every joke he does, everything is just like something that these people are attacking because it's not clean, or they're making too many political jokes or references. As he progresses into the story, we have a few things that happen. So Robin Williams gets to Vietnam, and while he's there and Forrest Whitaker's driving him, he keeps looking. He does this bit where he's like, because all the women are dressed the same, he's like, "Oh, that one's cute. That one's great. Just stop the car for a second." And Forrest Whitaker's like, "Nope, we're on a time limit. We keep going." And then they get like maybe a few minutes down the road, and the same dress on a woman is there. He's like, "Oh, she's fast. She's ahead of us. Look at that. Maybe she'll keep going. She'll be faster ahead yet." And they keep going down the road, and he's looking for another one. But it was funny because he ends up having a crush on a girl who's dressed pretty similar to those women. And in order to get near this woman, he interrupts an English teacher who's teaching Vietnamese English and goes into this class, and he pays him to leave the room because he's trying to take over his teacher. And this one boy keeps attacking Robin Williams over and over. And he's like, "I know what you're up to. That's my sister. That's my sister." And he's not feeling it. Like, he wants him to stay away from his sister. And you find out more as the story progresses as to why he's like that. But this bond builds between them more than Robin Williams' character and the sister, not in any weird way, but in the sense that they become friends. He takes him to lunch. They talk. He's honest to him. He tells him how he feels. And the story starts progressing. And that's where I said for the first hour, this movie is jokes, laughs, everything Robin Williams does well from a comedic standpoint. At that hour mark, this turns really quick because that young boy has a different name, and he's part of the Viet Cong, and he knows that a restaurant that's a popular hangout for the GIs is a target. And Robin Williams is in there having a beer, and he walks up to the young boy, and the boy walks up to him, and he goes, "You got to meet my sister. Come meet my sister. You got to meet her now, or you're gonna miss it." And he gets him out of there, and as they're like maybe 10 yards away from the entrance, the whole place blows up. And you start seeing kind of how the weight of Vietnam played in this town, because this wasn't even a war area. This was just a like town where the radio station was, the military base, the whole bit. And you start seeing the impacts, though, on a personal level. And that, for me, was what kind of pulled the story together, is that this wasn't just about, fighting in the jungle. This was how the people's lives that were in Vietnam were impacted, and how it resonated and sat with Robin Williams. And Robin Williams goes right from, mind you, there's a whole crew of people that have to fact check whatever he gets printed for news to read on the air, and they cross off anything he's not allowed to read. So anything that's negative, anything when he first gets there, he's not allowed to play certain music because he doesn't want people getting too riled. It is censorship at its fullest for him, and he's frustrated by it. The report comes through as he gets to the radio station after the bombing. He's got blood on his shirt, and he wants to go full out and tell the truth on what happened. And he gets papers yoinked out of his hand. He's told no, he's not allowed. He goes in, he locks the door, and he starts trying to say the unofficial bombing, and he's using words like unofficial and circumstantial, and he's just trying to beat around it without telling false narratives. And he gets shut off. They cut him off the air and they suspend him. And you start seeing the story unfold of how the young boy is with the Viet Cong and the family is tied into that, and you start seeing the stuff unfold and go from there. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot here.
Oh, I was in a trance listening to you. Man, I don't know where to start now. You got almost through the movie.
Yeah, well, there's a lot more, but yeah, it's such a good movie though. This is one of those early movies for Robin Williams that he just he's one of those actors who, whether he's trying to be funny or he's trying to be serious, you listen. And when he flipped the switch from the comedic side of him to the serious side in this movie, it really, really sat well with me.
To jump back to him following the Vietnamese. The Asian girl. One thing I wrote down in my notes was, man, that girl he's following to the English class, she's a teenager. It is really fucking creepy. It was really fucking creepy.
this is that era, unfortunately, where they're like, even when you look at Jurassic Park, what's her name has even talked about Laura Dern. She's even talked about the inappropriateness of the age gap. So it was a thing in Hollywood. I'm glad we've gotten past it, but I'm not going to let that take away from the movie. However, even though he's attracted to her and he makes the efforts there, that falls away and doesn't ever really turn into anything.
Yeah, no, it doesn't turn into anything. But when I was watching, because like I said, this was essentially a more of a first watch for me more than a rewatch, because I didn't remember anything about this movie from my first watch, because I was young when I watched it. And so seeing that now with today's eyes and him following this young girl, I was just like, man, this is fucked up. This is creepy, because Robin's not a young guy. And when this film was made, he was well in his 30s or maybe even 40s when this film was made. I'm not real sure how old he was, but he was definitely well in his 30s. So that was something that really put me off for a few minutes with this film. But like Ryan said, there's nothing ever transpires between him and the girl, because he befriends her brother, and it's more about the friendship that he builds with this brother. And it becomes a bit gut-wrenching with how things play out, because Robin, his character, generally really loves this kid as as a friend, as someone he's just grown really fond of, and it gets pretty gut-wrenching. But man, all the dialogue, with him on the radio station, and all this stuff is improv by Robin, and it's so good. Like, him on the radio is so good. And even whenever he gets suspended, he's getting brought back to the radio station, and they get stopped. And this is one of my favorite scenes in the movie. He gets stopped in like a little traffic jam, surrounded by soldiers on, going out, being shipped out. They're all in their trucks, and they're Forrest Whitaker's, hey, we need to get through. This is blah 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 blah, and they're like, well, prove it. And Robin Williams stands up in his Jeep and surrounded by all these soldiers and just starts doing his rants.
I feel like that was Forrest Whitaker's character was doing it intentionally to put them in that position, though, because at this juncture, Robin Williams has already been basically suspended, asked to come back. He doesn't want to go back. He sees there's more bigger issues happening, and he doesn't feel like he's really going to contribute in a positive way.
But I love this scene so much because, and like you're saying, that's why. And the reason I love it so much is it shows it shows Robin's character the value of what he's doing, even though he's being censored. The value of these soldiers need that outlet of listening to him, and they love listening to him so much. That is such a is something that gets their mind off the terrible things that are going on around them.
It helped the camaraderie, and like he took the time in that moment to ask certain soldiers what their names were, and then when he did go on the air later after he was inspired back, he went on the air and he said hi to those soldiers because he thought maybe they were listening, that it might help him. He saw the power of his words, so it was kind of cool.
Yeah, that is definitely my favorite scene in this entire movie, was that scene. And I read someplace that was actually added to the film because they wanted to give his character development actually like a face-to-face with the soldiers. And so in that scene at the hour and 24-minute mark, there's a Cleveland joke there. Yeah, there is.
There's a Cleveland. He goes, "Where are you from?" And he goes, "I'm from Cleveland." He goes, "Oh, so not too different from Vietnam." I was like, "Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
All right." But yeah, that whole scene is excellent. I do feel like so. After that scene, after he goes on the radio, there's another little. Basically, he gets convinced where the major who's trying to get him fired, he wants to send him into harm's way. Mm-hmm. So he sends him out in a road that he knows is hostile territory. And his Jeep gets blown up. Him and Forrest Whitaker are walking through the woods. And all of a sudden, what's I can't remember the kid's name. It's like, yo fuck Jim Bob. No,
it's
Timbuktu or something weird like that. No joke.
His name is Tong Ta Tran.
Well, that's his name, but he had another name for the character. That he was known as the VC. He had a different name. So, needless to say, though, he steals an egg truck that is literally delivering eggs, and he goes right to where their Jeep got blown up. He knew right where it was. He drives up. He rescues them. The truck's broke down, but he still walks back with them, showing them a way to go. A helicopter's flying in overhead, scoops in and rescues all three of them. And then they have questions about the young boy because he is affiliated with the VC, and essentially the three friends of his that were causing bombings, they had already executed and pulled aside and shot. And now he was in trouble himself. And so Robin Williams sets out to find him because Robin Williams has essentially been fired over this because they said he was working with a terrorist. And he is concerned for this kid's well-being because he genuinely cared about him as a friend. And so he goes to the sister takes him there, and there's this exchange when he finally gets brought to the boy. And this exchange is so powerful. It's one of the Robin Williams moments that you feel what's being said, what's happening, because the tears start forming in both the characters' eyes. They're literally passionate about what they're saying and the reasons why they're saying it. But the best part about it is the growth and the learning that Robin Williams does, and understanding that this hate's getting people nowhere. And it's a really magical moment. So I'm a big fan of this movie, start to finish. Yeah, it just ends kind of abruptly though.
That's what I was going to say. The one thing that I really hate about this movie is the ending, because it's like he gets saved, then it's immediately he's pulled in the office. We're shipping you out. You're fired because you're hanging out with this guy and he's affiliated with all these bombings. And he goes and confronts him, and then he's basically getting on a plane, and that's it. He's gone. That's the end of the film, and it ends very abruptly. It don't even pop up like what happened to this person. This how you see some of these films, like it could have popped up with what's his character, Adrian is Robin Williams' character's name. It could have popped up with Adrian left the war and went and worked at this radio station and did social justice with this. It could have done anything to have made that ending a little better to let us know what happened to this, because this is based on a true story, So it could have done anything to let us know what happened with this character after he left, because it ends so abruptly that it didn't even do that.
We got a little bit of a segue after Robin flies off, though. It was Forrest Whitaker taking over his spot on the air, and he says the "Good Morning Vietnam," but he does it with the most smooth black man voice possible. Like, good morning, Vietnam. And he gets all into it. I'm like, fuck yeah. That was really good. But no, and there's a goodbye scene too between the girl that he had the crush on, the sister of the boy, and him. And they're both crying too, but that was still weird. So that one didn't get me as much as the friend in him.
I do love that he gave Forrest Whitaker's character a recording for a last.
Yeah. And I have it written at the top of my sheet. It says goodbye Vietnam, because he does goodbye Vietnam. He does the flip of it. So yeah, not bad at all. Definitely a period piece. Definitely talks a lot about early censorship, and it is very on a minor level very similar to modern day and age, where they like to control the narrative and what gets put out there, and they have the final say. And I do like early in the movie when Robin Williams first gets on the air, he does this whole bit about Wizard of Oz, and he calls it Hanoi Hannah and the Wicked Witch is what he named her. It was just giving references to Saigon, Hanoi, Vietnam, anything you can to connect with the military personnel there. And then he was doing Gomer Pyle impressions.
His Gomer Pyle was awesome.
It was spot on, dude. It was great. But considering Gomer Pyle's its own show in Vietnam and the whole bit, this is just excellent. So, or was Gomer Pyle Korean War? I think it was Korean War. I don't remember.
It may have been Korean. I'd have to go back and look. I haven't watched that in years, but I love Gomer Pyle. So, did you look at box office and budget?
I know the budget. I don't know the rest.
I haven't looked at any of it.
Mic with my hat.
I haven't looked at any of it.
If you had to guess what the budget was for 1987, what would you say?
See, I think they went on location, at least in Asia someplace, maybe not in Vietnam, but the cast just got a pretty good cast. I'm gonna say maybe around 10 million.
Not far off, 13 million.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know what it did at box office numbers, though. So.
I probably actually have it here. Let's see. See if I have it here on the page that I'm on, at least what they're saying it is. Okay. So this movie did pretty well. Do you want to take a guess, or?
I didn't see, by the way. I looked over, but I didn't see. 13 million did well. Let's say 125 mil.
You are almost dead on with what it did domestically.
What did it do globally?
Globally, it did 194 million.
Wow.
Or no, wait. You're almost spot on. I misread that. It did 123 million domestic, and it did 194,000 international.
Okay.
So it made right at 124.
Then they didn't do a sequel.
So yeah, you were almost dead on with the 125 million.
I swear I didn't even get a peek on that. Let's see. Yeah, I pretty much don't have too much else to say about this, except for the director also did The Natural and Rain Man, so that was kind of cool too.
Yeah, I don't even think I looked up this guy's IMDb to look at what else he directed, because I think I focused so much on Robin Williams that I don't think I even went and looked at it.
You know what my favorite Robin Williams film is? I forgot about this. Good Morning Vietnam's up there, and there's a lot of great movies, but if you haven't seen it, I think I've talked about it on the show before, or on the podcast, but What Dreams May Come. Mm-hmm. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I've seen
Cuba
that.
Gooding Jr. as well. Holy shit. You want to talk about a movie that's disturbing? I mean, his whole family gets wiped out in the first X amount of minutes, leaving his wife left to deal with the aftermath, and she ends up taking her own life. And that's in the first 5 or 10 minutes. So that's not me giving away the whole story. What ensues afterwards is imagination and beauty and love entailed. And it's essentially because she commits suicide, she goes to hell, and him and his kids are in heaven. And he wants his wife. He goes to rescue her in hell. And the way that the the visuals all kick in, the way everything comes together, it's just such a beautiful, beautiful movie. I watched it after my first divorce, and I've only had one, so I shouldn't have said first. I watched it after a divorce when I was younger, and I bawled like a little. Yeah, that was one. That one, and I will admit, The Notebook. That one in The Notebook got me.
I've never seen The Notebook.
Dude. Excuse you.
That came from nowhere.
But yeah, no, Robin Williams just never ceases to amaze. So definitely my favorite actor of all time. This movie meant a lot to me growing up. I was very my father had a very eclectic amount of movies that we watched when we were growing up, but first Vietnam centric thing I watched was the show Toward Duty that I've talked about before. And then I saw I think I saw it in this order. I saw Hamburger Hill and then Platoon. And so this was the first Vietnam thing I saw that wasn't just pure everyone getting killed and everyone taken out. This was something different in Vietnam centric that told a different side of the story.
I loved Robin Williams, and I said at the beginning of this episode, and I mentioned my favorites, Popeye, Death to Smoochie, Insomnia.
I'm glad you mentioned 1 Hour Photo.
Yeah, 1 Hour Photo. I love all these films, and I love Robin Williams, but for me, he's not one of my favorite actors. I think if I was to make a top list, he wouldn't crack a top 10 for me. But I generally do love, and I think a lot of him as an actor and as a person. And I love a lot of his films, but he has a lot of films that, I'm just not a big fan of. I'm not a Mrs. Doubtfire fan. I'm not a fan of some of those movies like that.
Dude, Mrs. Doubtfire hit me in the feels for the kids aspect and dad. Oh my God. How can you not? My kids love it too. So it was like such a.
I think the thing is my stepbrother watched that movie growing up, and my son caved no crap. He didn't want to see it. It wasn't a movie for him. So I had to endure my stepbrother watching this film constantly. So it's just like I grew to have a hatred for that film.
Oh no, I loved it.
And so whenever I think of him, and I think that's why I do have a problem. I can't put him on like one of my favorite actors lists because my stepbrother ruined some of Robin Williams with me. Growing up,
I'll fix you.
Playing it constantly.
I'll bring you back.
But the stuff that I love, and like I said, Good Will Hunting. I mean, there's so many films that I do love with him in it.
His range for me is it though, like The Birdcage, 1 Hour Photo, Mrs. Doubtfire, Flubber. Like there's all these different characters with him. Yes, he's still silly and eccentric, but he always knew when to flip on the right switches for the right roles, and he immersed himself. So
I would have liked to have seen him as the Riddler over Jim Carrey.
Maybe.
That was always who I wanted to see play the Riddler.
He would have a different suit for sure.
Yeah. And in modern day, I always said I wanted to see Robin Williams back then as the Riddler, and more modern, I always wanted to see David Tennant play the Riddler.
I kind of liked who they got to play him in The Batman. I kind of didn't mind it. And furthermore, I like the Riddler. I like most of the cast in Gotham.
Yeah, I like Gotham.
The Gotham TV series is spectacular.
Well, let's go ahead and dive into the review. I'll go first since you picked it, unless you want to go first.
No, go ahead.
So yeah, this is a good movie. It's a really good movie. But unfortunately, it's only good because of Robin Williams. The rest of the movie is it ends abruptly. This is a movie I can sit here and tell you it's a great film. And I'm going to give it a high rating on the fact that it's such a good film. And this film won awards. There's a reason this film won awards. It's because it's a good movie. This is not a movie for me. And to me, this is not.
No, Chillerama is.
This is well, no, I like good, serious movies too.
I know.
But this is not a movie for me. And this is, for me and my taste, this is one of Robin Williams' weaker films, I think. For me. I'm going to give this a 4.0.
Whoa.
Just because it is such a good movie. But for me, this is not a recommendable 4.0. This is a movie that I don't hate that I watched. I appreciate that I watched it, and I appreciate that I've watched it to see how great Robin Williams was in it. and I recommend everybody to watch this movie. But it's not a movie that I will ever revisit again.
So if I pick it again, no, I'm just kidding.
I'll go grab the Cliff Notes for it.
Yeah. So this is weird because I'm a little bit lower actually.
Well, yeah, I think it's odd that I give it such a high review, but yet also say I'm not recommending this film.
So I love this movie. I think it's great. I think I always look at movies in the sense of, would my kids enjoy these with me? And Noah, my youngest, he loves history. He loves World War II and Vietnam specifically. I told him the premise of this movie and that it was Robin Williams, and I had to watch it last night, like really abruptly. So he had to be asleep for school, but he didn't get to see it. But he wants to check it out with me because he's so intrigued about it.
Well, it's a great period piece.
That's what I'm saying. Like so that to that extent, like the fact that my son takes interest in it, loves Robin Williams, the fact that it is based loosely around a true story, the fact that Robin Williams does nothing but deliver when he's on screen in his own way that just is untouchable by any other actor, in my opinion. I know it's not his, but in my opinion, I loved everything about this. However, I think there's better movies from Robin Williams, so I'm 3.75 here. 3.75 nerds.
So we really don't feel too different about this film, I don't think. I think I just stand with once you see it once, you probably, in my opinion, I just don't want to ever see it again.
No, I mean, like, and it's not a bad thing that I won't revisit it. I mean, like, if my son wants to watch it, I'll watch it with him, or like I'll watch it with some friends or something. But I probably wouldn't be like, you know what, I want to watch Good Morning Vietnam. That probably won't happen again. So I agree.
Yeah. Recommendations. You got any recommendations?
I got a couple. I'm going to do a recommendation and one that I want y'all to stay away from. The first one this is another kind of, I'm just going to go right into it. The movie The Cleaner, with Daisy Ridley. This movie is essentially a Nakatomi Die Hard ripoff with a girl protagonist trying way too hard to deliver in areas it can't. What I did like is that there is a minor character who is autistic and who they're representing well in a positive way. But as far as she's a window cleaner, just like the name suggests. She's stuck out in the window, and terrorists come in, and the rest is history because you get the gist from seeing Die Hard. I watched this and I was a little mad I watched it. So I think on my what's the app? Letterboxd. On my Letterboxd review I did for it, I gave it a 1.5 stars because it was so bad.
Wow.
And I don't go that low that often. I'm usually pretty generous in what I look at in movies and try and see positives. This one I just couldn't pull anything back from there. Now, that said, oh no, I saw the TV Glow, which I told everyone not to watch last time. I gave that 1.5 stars as well. That said, the two movies I am going to talk about that are amazing, I recommend, and first time I watched it, really didn't know much about it, but I knew the second one was coming out, and John Barenthal's in it, but The Accountant. I haven't seen The Accountant 2.
I've been wanting to see the second one bad.
I just got this, I'm going to see the second one. But I saw the first one in anticipation of the second, and I was pleasantly pleased. It wasn't anything magical. I kind of knew that what was coming and what wasn't happening. It was very predictable, but it still was good, and it was interesting seeing what's his face play a autistic person.
Had you never seen The Accountant until recently?
No, I
really
watched it the first time.
Oh, yeah. I love The Accountant.
And had John Barenthal not been in it, I probably wouldn't have watched it. But knowing that he was in it, because I'm such a fan of his, I had to see it.
See, I watched the first one when it first came out, and I didn't even know he was in it. I literally watched it just because I heard such good things about it. Just, one night right after it got on digital, and I was like, okay, I want to watch this, because I've heard nothing but positive. And when John Berthal's character shows up, I'm like, holy fuck, the fucking Punisher's in this.
punishing too. It's the same things essentially. But yeah, so that's my stay away from and check it out.
I'm going to do something a little different here. I'm going to give you a movie that is a recommend and also a not recommend.
One movie?
One movie.
Okay.
And I just recently watched this, and I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it, but I also think if you're not a fan of the actors or the time period, you're probably not going to like this film because it gets a little stale in what it does. The movie Saturday Night. Have you seen this?
This is the one that's based off Saturday Night Live, isn't it?
It's the one that
I haven't seen it yet.
It's the one that's based on Saturday Night Live, and essentially it's not what you think. And this is where my not recommend would come in if you're not a fan of the actors, of the people they're portraying, or Saturday Night Live, because it's not about like Saturday Night Live like the early years. It's literally about Saturday Night Live trying to get the original episode on air, and the night of everything leading up to the night, or it's literally about the night of the premiere is what this movie's about, and them trying to get everything right and perfect for the premiere. So there's not like a lot of story and stuff between actors and things that's happening. So that's where it's a little bit of a letdown. But if you're a fan of that time period with Chevy Chase, Dan Aykroyd, John Belushi, give this a watch. It becomes a pretty fun movie. I think it's the characters, the actors they got to play these. Dan Aykroyd, John Belushi, Chevy Chase, God, they were so good, And Dylan O'Brien as Dan Aykroyd, he knocks it out of the park.
Really?
Out of the fucking park. And the guy that plays John Belushi, I don't know who it was, but I wanted to actually look it up and I hadn't. Fucking knocks it out of the park. I mean, the same with Chevy Chase. I mean, it's the actors they got to portray them, or it's fantastic.
Have I told you my Dan Aykroyd story?
Don't know.
So I worked for House of Blues for a number of years, and at one time before Live Nation bought it, Dan Aykroyd was my boss.
You did tell me this, yeah.
And he would, after he sold his part of it, he then bought. He sells what's called Crystal Head vodka. It's the Skull, the Clear Skull vodka, and this it's solid. No, we're not sponsored. I'm not pushing anything, but it's triple distilled and it's pretty spectacular. But he would come in to check placement of it with the company because they were that was one of his deal points. He'd make sure placement was good. He'd make sure everything was all right. Everything was standing. He'd come in even though he wasn't part of the company anymore, and we had House of Blues books, and he'd sign all the books for people. He was so amazing. By the second and third time he came into House of Blues, Ryan, how we doing? And all I could think of myself was, Dan Aykroyd knows my name. I was so happy for that moment. Like I've got a picture with him, but like me getting to hear that from such a legend, such an icon, and his now ex-wife, I guess, I didn't know she's a germaphobe. Because I made the mistake. I went to shake her hand, and she pulled back, but I understood very quickly after I found out, and I felt bad that I even did that. If I had known, I wouldn't have done that, but it was interesting to meet somebody who was actually a germaphobe. Mm-hmm. She had gloves on, the mask. This is all before the pandemic, so it was interesting.
Yeah, that's you told me about that before, and I had forgot. But once you got started, I was like, okay, yeah, I remember now.
It's good stuff.
CineNerdsPodcast.com. Check us out. All of our episodes are there. Our shop is there. You can buy you a hoodie, a T-shirt, a sticker. Got some new designs up. Share, write a review. Again, I said it in last week's episode. If you're watching the live on YouTube right now, or live chat on YouTube, once this stops, come back, click like on this video, and write a comment in the regular comments, not the live chat.
Yeah, what he said.
Anything else?
Nope. You guys have a stellar and wonderful week.
Until next time, good night, CineNerds.
Cheers. Bye.